Georgetown is due to beat somebody. They played very well against St. John's. They had the big win at Rutgers, which really hit Rutgers after Rutgers had that 2-point loss to Seton Hall. They lose at home to Georgetown. Georgetown's due to beat somebody. They lost by 2 this weekend to Providence, and I really think Providence tonight's going to have their hands full with Georgetown.
Well, you know, Georgetown next year I think is going to be dynamite. Bringing in a lot of big-time recruits, a lot of size to go along with their young guards, Braswell and Perry. When you talk about Rutgers, they should win tonight, and then they got the matchup with St. John's. They'll have to beat St. John's and maybe beat Miami to even have an outside shot to get back on a bubble. They let it slip big time, losing 4 games in a row.
All right, well, let's set the table for what's coming up tonight, both on ESPN as well as ESPN2. Pittsburgh and Rutgers. That's the game that Dick was talking about. Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights, desperate for at least 1 or 2 wins to get back on the bubble. 9:30 Eastern Time. Over on the Deuce, we've got George.
Teams who want to get those at-large NCAA bids. Dick and Digger and I will return right after this. When I report Chris Fowler, Digger. Tal, you get to shoot the rock in just a second. First, we want to tee folks up in the Conference USA tournament down in Birmingham. The take on UNC Washington has the easiest draw in that. You can see the rest of the bracket there. Syracuse, say it's a team they beat in the regular season. Seton Hall beat Notre Dame in the early game. Seton Hall led Connecticut at halftime of both of their first-round matchups there. Georgetown and Providence, another matchup here in the Big East tournament. Early on,
shooting threes, and that's been the difference in the first half.
Your thoughts on the conference tournament right now as we watch this Rutgers-Pittsburgh game, critical game for the Scarlet Knights later on?
Well, you know, Rutgers loses 4 games in a row, and that's obviously put them in big, big trouble. Looks like they're heading to the NIT. But if they were to get hot and win that and beat St. John's and then get a shot against Miami and beat Miami, if they could beat 2 of the top 10 teams in America, now they're back on the table and it's decision time. But when you lose 4 in a row at the end of the year in the conference play and you're mediocre to start with, you're in trouble.
Well, that other matchup, though, Chris, I really think when you look at what could happen with St. John's playing Miami, I don't know if you can beat St. John's 3 times in one season, especially in Madison Square Garden, because I feel the winner of this game gets a number 2 seed someplace in the big dance.
Chris, Rutgers, Seton Hall, NIT.
You just said Rutgers needs 3 wins to get it. Most people feel they can do it with 2. Low-scoring affair in the MAC championship game, tied at 17. We're coming back.
As we look at our watch.
The first right. Round 2 in a game there.
Hall going to get 1. Certainly now Georgetown's going to get 1. Is going to the NIT. Great strategy, though. I agree with you. To double up on
Georgetown. That's the next round now, the quarterfinals. But in Big East tournament play, this is now the 5th consecutive year that the Hoyas will hook up with the Hurricanes. Guess who's won the last 4?
The Hoyas.
The Hoyas. This is a very different Miami team, however. Earlier in the Big East tournament for Villanova and West. As we check the top half of the bracket now, Connecticut, the top seed, will take on Seton Hall. That's a noon game tomorrow on the Deuce. And now Syracuse, Nova, a matchup of a couple of teams that you guys say are both incorrect, but Nova did embarrass them.
Well, you know, you're talking about Villanova. They're going to have to shoot the ball really well against that 2-3 zone of Syracuse. You talk about that 2-3 zone. Guys like Lynch could step in the gap and knock that shot down. And I was really impressed today with the brilliant play of John Celestin. He played brilliantly. And I'll tell you, Chris, I think that Steve Lapis has done his best job of coaching because he's done it without a superstar.
Other side of the bracket here, the 1 game remaining, Digger, is Rutgers and Pittsburgh. You say Rutgers needs a couple of wins, but even if they get by the Panthers, who are using 6 or 7 players tonight because of eligibility and injury issues and lame duck Ralph Willard, even if they win that game, St. John's looms.
Well, Rutgers really hurt themselves when they, they lose 4 straight, but 2 of those 4 when they lost to Seton Hall by 2 in the Meadowlands, and then the next thing you know, they lose at home to Georgetown, even though they lost at Miami last weekend. Those 4, but the 2 in the middle really hurt them. I mean, to beat St. John's has got to be a major coup. They played close games if they beat Pittsburgh tonight, but I think Rutgers has got to make a run in order to get to the NCAA tournament.
I'll tell you, Digger, you talk about Pittsburgh and Ralph Willard. I really felt that Ralph Willard would be a star at Pittsburgh. Had so much tough luck in the way of injuries. I think their facilities set that program back. Word is that Ben Holland's going to get that job from Northern Arizona, and I think that job is so tough. If Ralph Willard couldn't do it, Chris, there aren't many guys that are going to do it because that guy is a winner.
You have the Steve Peterson, the Pitt AD. Is that an inside scoop there, the next coach of Pittsburgh?
Well, Andy Katz knows, and he's one of our guys on our ESPN Sports Zone, and I'll tell you, it's going to happen.
Okay.
Do you want to go there as an assistant?
If you say it, it happens. I'm very happy right here being your assistant. Remember, Rutgers and Pittsburgh coming up. You got Billett and company. The Scarlet Knights, so they look nervous. They really need this game across the river from their home campus. Counting down to Rutgers and Pittsburgh, the final first-round game in the Big East tournament. In the meantime, we're going to shift our focus to Conference USA. Cummings, they'll rely a lot on him tonight with a very short bench for the Panthers. The Panthers and the Scarlet Knights, Rutgers really needs it.
Time for a nightcap from New York, the city where hoop dreams and memories intersect. A road traveled last year by Pittsburgh's Vonteego Cummings, who put on one of the best performances in Big East tournament history. Can he do it again for the Panthers? Jeff Billett led Rutgers through a wonderful Cinderella run. His Knights need another one if they want to be one of the chosen 64. That's the storyline as we welcome you back inside the world's most famous arena. Championship Week presented by 7-Up continues with our fifth opening round game in the AT&T Big East Championship. The Panthers of Pittsburgh trying to get to 500. Rutgers trying to get to the big bracket. Within our brackets, we've seen Seton Hall, Syracuse, Villanova, and 10-seed Georgetown advance. The winner here gets St. John's. Mike Tirico, Len Elmore once again. Len, 2 weeks ago we saw Rutgers 17-7. They thought they were in the tournament. They've lost 4 in a row. They play with more urgency than maybe anyone else on Championship Week Wednesday night. They've got to win at least tonight to even be talked about.
Well, all year long, their seniors have led them. They've been getting big plays from them. Jeff Billett and Rob Hodgson are the guys we're talking about. Take a look at Jeff there. But in the last 4 games, they were in each of those games, but it was Billett and Hodgson who misfire. Rutgers needs someone to step up in the crunch. And if they're going to get to the dance, they've got to get past Pitt in order to beat that quality opponent in St. John's.
And in Pittsburgh, they will face Vonteego Cummings, the Panthers star who scored 37 in this round last year in a double overtime classic. Also in this game, the 4th ever meeting of New York City brothers, the Greers, Ricardo and Jess. They go head-to-head. We tip off Pitt Rutgers next. Electricity not just inside Madison Square Garden tonight. Some lightning, some heavy rain outside. So in the relative serenity of indoors, we welcome you for the AT&T starting lineups for the Scarlet Knights. Kevin Bannon's team with the seniors Hodgson and Billett, Jones in a slump, Jeff Greer playing against his brother, and Alvidas Tanise starts because Rashad Kent, the freshman's out with a knee injury. For Pittsburgh, Vonteego Cummings is their all-everything, joined by Kelly Taylor in the backcourt, Greer, Stephen Flores, a soft-spoken contributor, and Isaac Hawkins finish out Ralph Willard's 5. As for Vonteego Cummings, 3rd team all Big East, 9th in Pittsburgh history in scoring, and Len still talk about the show he put on in this round last year, a double overtime loss to Villanova.
Well, he did just about everything you can expect of a guy. Made the plays, played defensively well, tried to hit the critical shots, played every minute. And again, this is a guy who on the next level, people are going to see just how good a player he is, especially when there are other good players around him.
There is Ralph Willard. There is his bench for tonight. He only has 2 subs for a variety of reasons. Injuries, suspensions. It is a 7-man unit for the Panthers. Tim Higgins, the referee, throws it up at center court. Pitt in the yellow, Rutgers in the white. And the ball starts with the Scarlet Knights and Rob Hodgson, their senior out of Long Island, hopes this is not his last Big East game.
Well, I tell you, it's really going to tell on Rutgers whether or not they get that inside presence. Rashad Kent, as you mentioned, out with a knee injury. It's going to wind up being a little Tanise. Anyone?
Up to Alvidas, the early turnover forced by the 7-footer out of Lithuania.
And that wasn't a start that they wanted from him, for sure.
So it's Pittsburgh out of the game. Kelly Taylor and Vonteego Cummings make up the backcourt. Flores with Greer, that is Ricardo, and Vonteego off the screen. Flores got the rebound and resets it for the Panthers. Taylor is a junior, 6'1", shoots over Jeff Greer. Jeff for Rutgers Ricky Ricardo, if you will, for Pittsburgh. And it's a Scarlet Knight foul.
Well, you would expect Pittsburgh coming into this game really not a whole lot to gain, nothing really to lose. And quite honestly, they should be loose and ready to play. But the first two shots, one was way short and the other was really hard. That's an example of being a little bit tense.
Ricardo Greer, a hard one inside, puts another one up. But Pittsburgh, the stick-to-itiveness to keep it. Finally, Kelly Taylor loose it out of bounds. Well, Ralph Willard could be coaching his last game at Pittsburgh. Announced his resignation. Start of February. It's been a disappointing season. 14-15, a disappointing end because it was a terrific start. They were in the poll in the top 25 for 5 weeks. They beat number 10 and number 4 earlier this season. And then things went wrong, and we'll break that down as the night goes on. Taylor watched by Jeff Greer. Cummings watched by Hodgson. Flores, the pass to Hawkins inside. And the junior out of Baton Rouge, Isaac Hawkins, lost it. Last off him.
Nice job by Hodgson to peel back out of the defense. Anytime the ball goes inside, you're going to wind up getting a collapse by Rutgers.
Kevin Bannon's team won 2 games in this tournament last year. A Jersey guy through and through who has this program certainly on the rise. Rutgers is one of the toughest places to play on the road. Their recruiting classes have been among the best in terms of depth in the conference. A lot of early misses and lots of early turnovers. This is the only second meeting between these teams. Scarlet Knights won the first one by 13, but that was in the stretch when Montego Cummings was out with a back injury, a stretch where the Panthers went winless in what essentially was 4 games. Came out of the game early. Over and back, and another turnover in the early going.
And that ball was tipped by Kelly Taylor after the defender had deflected it. But again, I can understand Rutgers being a little bit nervous, a little bit tight coming out here, but Pittsburgh playing as though, you know, they need one win to go to the dance, and we know that's not the truth. So I think really their motivation is to win one for Coach Ralph, and that's got them a little beside themselves.
Ralph Hodgson on the drive, got the goal, and will get to the free throw line. The senior was fouled by Stephen Flores, his first.
And the best way to get rid of the butterflies is to go in and get some contact, and Rob Hodgson does just that. Nice recognition by him, putting it on the floor and getting into the teeth of the defense.
Hodgson, 15th all-time Rutgers scorer. Kid who started his career at Indiana, went for a semester, didn't like it, was let out of his scholarship by Bob Knight and the Hoosiers, came back near home, Long Island native, playing in New Jersey, son of the coach, and one of the all-time top 20 scorers in the history of Rutgers basketball.
So a kid from Long Island goes to Indiana and doesn't like it? How do you figure?
Slightly different. There was no Bloomingdale's in Bloomington. Cummings watched by Jeff Billett, the other big senior for Rutgers. And Montego draws the contact in the first personal on the Jersey-born senior, 22 in white.
Well, again, with Pittsburgh playing for pride, if nothing else, you can probably expect a whole lot from them, a whole lot of different things. But mostly you can expect Montego Cummings to control the ball whenever the offense breaks down or it's a need situation. And he pretty much gets where he wants.
Pretty neat here tonight as you see Cummings' impressive career totals in his 4 years. We had 3 players on the floor who were in the top 15 in their school's all-time scoring list. I told you about Hodgson at 15. Billett's 11 on the Rutgers all-time list. And Cummings is 9th in Pittsburgh history. 1,500 and now 73 points after going 1 of 2 from the line. And the foul is on Pittsburgh. The battle underneath for the board.
Isaac Hawkins, he's looking to really get off to a good start. The last game they played, last game of the season against Seton Hall, he took a donut. You know, you get a big bagel next to your name, and you're expected to be one of the men on this team. And you want to come out immediately and establish yourself. And Hawkins is a rebounder, a good defensive player out there. You see him guarding Hodgson.
Dante Jones, the slumping freshman, continues. Both teams cold shooting as Pittsburgh breaks out off the Ricardo Greer miss. Jones back the other way. It's the other Greer, Jeff, who lost the handle this time. And And Ricardo takes it for Pittsburgh. Vontigo on the run. He'll go to the line.
Well, you talk about losing a handle. That handle was snatched. Vontigo coming with some quick hands as he sets up defensively.
We will show it to you from our above the rim view. She watched Cummings at the free throw line for 2. You know, Hodgson picked up that foul. That's his second. So early foul trouble for the Rutgers senior. And he goes to the bench, replaced by Joel Salvi.
Well, another big loss. Hodgson, excellent perimeter shooter. 43% from three-point range. Also has the ability to put the ball on the floor. And again, we mentioned Rashad Kent, and it bears repeating their inside force. He's not going to play at all. So Rutgers really whittled down from the offensive end.
Kelly Taylor's three is off the mark. You know, Pittsburgh has 7 rebounds already. The Panthers have been all over the glass, but they're 0 of 6 from the field. And the foul on Jeremy Holmes. And this game is whistled closely by Will Bush, Bob Donato, and Ted Higgins. We might not have anyone left for the Panthers. There's Salvi, 3. Energy from the big hair, high sock performer. Jones still can't find the range. Taylor and Cummings, the 2 backcourt running mates, were side by side and had no room. A lazy pass. I don't know how it got through to Hawkins. 3 Scarlet Knights on the board. Salvi comes away with it. They need a little bit of Salvi right now.
Well, Rutgers certainly can use some energy out there, going straight to the basket.
Denise has never seen that much defensive attention in his life.
Looks like rain. It's rain in Panthers.
Denise said, wait a minute, I average 3 points a game, guys. I don't need to be triple.
Well, watch here. Watch just a little bit of a head fake. All he does is look, and bam. Man. He's got an umbrella?
This guy's taken 44 shots all season from the field. Ease up on me. He got the start in the last regular season game against Miami. And even though Rutgers has lost its last 4, they're coming off a good effort. They lost by 5 at Miami, had a chance to win the game, and a road game against a top 10 team when you've got a chance to tie it and force OT perhaps at the end. You're not playing bad basketball.
Well, even against UConn, where, you know, the margin was always around 8, 10, or 12, they had their opportunities, but they just could not get over the hump.
2, 4, and 5-point losses the last 3 times out. Taking the Scarlet Knights from a team that looked like it was on its way to 20 wins in the NCAA tournament to a team that is fighting for its life. And to be frank, putting a very poor effort out here in the early 4:15. Perhaps nerves and jitters.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And again, the loss of Kent Hodgson being on the bench, they're a little bit out of sync. They don't have the right people out on the floor for a game like this.
Cummings kept it alive. Denise pulled down the rebound. Willard Jones hasn't touched the floor. Salvi.
Nice job by the rookie, the freshman, Dante Jones, recognizing Salvi running on the other end. That's the kind of play that you need. Unselfish play, but something that's going to give you a boost.
Jeremy Holmes had his pass deflected by Jeff Greer. He came right back down in the hands of Holmes. Denise used his height to tip it to Billett. The senior pusher, Jeff Greer.
There's a little rhythm right there for Rutgers.
And a 20-second Pittsburgh timeout as the Scarlet Knights with a little run.
And Rutgers is getting back in sync by excellent ball movement. Keeping the lane spread, posting up Denise, and getting the shooters out there in range.
Well, Pittsburgh, not a good shooting start to this game. Panthers, who scored the fewest points in conference games this year, 0 of 10 from the field to start it.
And that's what I mean. Again, you recognize that, you know, you have to relax out there. And certainly if there's any team in this whole tournament that should play relaxed, it's Pittsburgh. But they've come out here as though it was a role reversal, as though they need this badly. and they really misfired on the other end. Their execution is poor, not really moving the ball enough.
Cummings has 2 of the 10. Pittsburgh misses. Kelly Taylor back in the game. Taylor, Holmes, Cummings. Taylor with 20 to shoot. The foul on the outside is on Greer of Rutgers. That is Jeff's second. Slow start for the Panthers, who trail by 7. Conversation builds towards Sunday in the selection specials. Live and exclusive, you find out the field of 64 for the ladies tournament presented by State Farm with Robin Robertson Company at 5:15 Eastern. After we sneak into Sports Center, Fowler, Phelps, Vital, Jay Billis in Kansas City, where they're deciding the field of 64. The men's tournament selection special at 6:30 Eastern for 90 minutes. We'll just tell you who's there. We'll tell you why they're there and what kind of a first round game they're going to face on ESPN. Jeremy Holmes out of the timeout breaks the 0-for-10 field goal start for the Panthers.
That should do enough to energize the Pittsburgh defense. They have a little more bounce in their step, a little more purpose to their guarding of men.
Freshman Billy Collins seeing his first action, 21, bottom of the screen. Greer the drive. He missed, but he only has 1 foul. His brother has the other foul. The Greer family has 2, 1 apiece. Nice fake by Holmes. Cummings with NBA range. Kelly Taylor the long board.
And Kelly Taylor, you talk about an athletic player, a guy who has an understanding of the game. And he's done a nice job at times during this year, particularly on the offensive end, giving them a spark.
Lost the handle on the way in. Good, right?
I was going to say defensively, though, I mean, you can expect him. His dad, Roland Fatty Taylor, a great defensive player in the ABA, played with Denver and the Virginia Squires. Kelly plays defense pretty much like him. Quick hands, very tenacious.
It's a foul on the freshman Chris Seabrooks, and you know Seabrooks is an interesting story as well for Ralph Willard, who has such few options with 2 bench players in the game. Seabrooks can only play a few minutes at a stretch because of an asthma problem. He just has trouble breathing, so more than 5 or 10 minutes a stretch is the max that you'll see Seabrooks. And when you have a 2-man bench, you don't know that you can only go to one of them for a couple of minutes at a time. You must be Houdini, or guys, it's a playground game. You're not coming off.
Start playing with their heads a little bit as Pittsburgh plays the zone. It's got Rutgers a little bit confused.
The zone makes some sense given the lack of depth, and Dante Jones forcing it a little bit. And Seabrooks the nice rebound. This end has been the problem. This end continues to be the problem. 11 missed shots, 4 turnovers, 7 minutes.
And again, it's a question of what's the strategy. That time Holmes received, Greer had posted up wide open, and Holmes never gave him a look. Just tried to put it on the floor and go. You got to explore the defense just a little bit.
Collins, Salvi, Earl Johnson, and Dante Jones join Dillard on the floor. Collins, kid out of New Hampshire, stepped on the baseline. It's a Rutgers turnover. Well, why are the Scarlet Knights even being talked about for the NCAAs? They're 17-7. The resume looked pretty good. The 4 losses lately have really set them back. As you check out the other scores in the A10, Conference USA, and the MEAC. The Rattlers. FAMU had the advantage. Chris Dickendigger have an eye on all of it. You'll have the highlights coming up at halftime and all the brackets from the conference tournaments. Get going today really kicks in tomorrow. Kevin Bannon's team needs to see tomorrow.
The team spin.
5 team fouls on Rutgers, 5 on Pittsburgh. That's that off Pitt to the surprise of Cummings.
And you know what? Cardinal error by Vonteego Cummings. When you have a chance to save the ball, you save it. You never leave it in the hands of the judgment of the official if you can help it. Because they make mistakes in the game. That wasn't one of them.
Not that we would point out any of them. Salvi on the low block. Joel, freshman. Oh, that was not even the block, but the reception by Hawkins.
Well, that ball was on the way down, but the officials had to believe that it never had a chance to touch the rim.
Billy Collins to the floor for the turnover. Billett in transition. Hey, somebody do something, will you? Jones can't finish. Ricardo Greer the rebound for the Panthers. Jeremy Holmes. Guys, we will take down the 5 and the 9 and we'll restart for you. Come on, boys. Be right back. In the AT&T Big East Championship, led by Khalid El Amin, Kevin Freeman et al., the UConn Huskies on their way in all likelihood to a #1 seed on Selection Sunday. Will they take a bow at the Garden? They start their run in the AT&T Big East Championship against Seton Hall at noon on the Deuce tomorrow. Then Syracuse-Villanova on ESPN. Miami-Georgetown on the Deuce starts our night doubleheader. And then we're back for St. John's against the winner of Rutgers-Pitt tomorrow night on ESPN.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people in the previews of this tournament across the country have already questioned Connecticut's toughness, both physically and mentally. But I'll tell you what, you get through this thing, you got a badge coming from me, you, and probably everybody else.
That's right. The foul inside. Connecticut's injury problems have been documented. Albert Mooring with an injury in the regular season finale in Syracuse. We checked today as UConn practiced. Jake Voskuhl was running around but not involved in a lot of the full practice situations. He has the stress fracture, and that will be something to watch over 3 days if Connecticut gets to the finals. With the NCAA tournament in question, Jim Calhoun told us last night he'd be very cautious with Voskuhl. We'll see how far Jake goes tomorrow at noon. Alvinas Tenise hit 2 free throws. And it's a 6-point Rutgers lead, 11-5, 8.5 gone by. Half one, game 5 in the Garden. 3 of the first 4 were within 5 points in the last 2 minutes. So we've had close hoops except for Syracuse's blowout of Boston College, a 41-point win, the largest margin of victory in Big East tournament history.
Pittsburgh running a little continuity on offense. Again, trying to get some shooters in familiar territory and still not able to connect.
Steven Flores missed that one, but a 13th rebound will keep it alive for the Panthers. Let's see what Pittsburgh can do here offensively. They have some talented players in Ricardo Greer. Isaac Hawkins, who just took that shot. With Cummings on the bench, it was up to one of those two, and it was the junior from Baton Rouge.
And the Scarlet Knights played pretty good defense on that one. And you can tell, if you want to use a barometer as to how important this game is for Rutgers, you just watch them on defense.
Flores and Salvi with some hand-to-hand combat. Billett has it with 15 to shoot. Now Dante Jones. The screen from Tenise. Billett not free for the J. Jones, the no-look for Tenise. 4 to shoot. Not the man you want to have it in that situation. Salvi did not get it off. Good defense by the Panthers.
And you could see Jeff Billett going behind Tenise, screaming for the ball like a good point guard should. When a situation on offense breaks down, the point guard has to regain control of that team. It's his job to create something when time's running out. They never found him though.
Combined 5 for 25. 20%. You saw Hodgson 45 and White come back in the game. He's in the lane right now. The outside jumper from Ricardo Greer of Pittsburgh is off. Flores having taken away inside by Jeff Greer. Greer brother wears 25. It is Jeff for Rutgers for 3. It's been 33% this year. He's got a couple. Rutgers is a terrific 3-point shooting team. A response from the Panthers. Short. Good defense by Billett on Jeremy Holmes. Here's Billett. Round to round. Billett trying to take this game over a little bit. Another Pittsburgh 20-second timeout. The Scarlet Knights lead by 9.
And I mentioned earlier, use the Rutgers defense as a barometer to how important this game is. And we take a look here, Jeff Billett on the drive after creating the turnover situation. And a nice job in transition. And this is what I mean by breaking down defenses. The point guard's job to test the defense. As long as they're on their heels, push them back as far as you need to when you have the advantage.
He fills up a lot of the stat columns. The first player in the history of the conference with 900 points, 250 assists, and over 100 three-point makes in league history. It's a lot of numbers. I'll throw them at you again. 900 points, 250 assists, and over 100 three-pointers made, and that's in 4 years. Does it all in the backcourt. Very sloppy half-court offense for the Panthers. Kelly Taylor, hand checked by Jeff Greer.
Well, it's also a little bit of lackadaisical play. And to some extent, you can understand it, as I mentioned before, not having a whole lot to play for. But nevertheless, you're out here, you want to give a good acquittal of yourself. You want to show the hustle, and I think Pittsburgh has got to get down the cases right now, put forth a little more effort and a little more intensity.
You did the last game for Ralph Willard in Pittsburgh with Dan Schulman on Saturday, the game against Seton Hall. Effort was high grades from Pittsburgh?
Absolutely, and one of the reasons it was senior night, Montego Cummings was honored before the game, and I think all of his teammates wanted to give him a good send-off, as well as he gave himself a pretty good send-off, 23 points and just a number of excellent plays.
The victory over Seton Hall. Pitt 5-13 in the league this year. Earl Johnson off the bench for Big East All rookie performer missed. Coming to the Panthers can get right back in this with a few back-to-backers. Maybe a three from Taylor.
That's more like it if you're Ralph Willard. You see your team playing loose, but still with purpose.
5 in a row out of the timeout. 4-point. Scarlet Knight leads. We dip under 8.5. First half minutes left. Okay, Jones, quick step. He cannot shake the slump. Hawkins. That was Ricardo Greer holding off on Dante Jones underneath. Ricardo picks up the personal, his second.
Well, last time down for Pittsburgh, they were able to play, as I mentioned, with purpose, find the open man just by surveying the floor, and that time a nice delivery to Kelly Taylor for the three.
Ricardo Greer's foul, Len, was his second. Each Greer, Ricardo and Jeff have 2 personal fouls.
Well, it's only fair.
Fenley. And Jeff's got 6 points. Ricardo has none.
Okay.
There's Dante Jones, first team All Big East this year. One more for him. You know, the last 4 years, Rutgers has had an All Big East Conference performer. Jones this year. Greer the year before that. Earl Johnson the year before that. And Jeff Billett the year before that. They've become the LA Dodgers in the Big East.
You better explain that to the non-baseball fans.
The Dodgers, with that great farm system, have had Rookie of the Year after Rookie of the Year. On and on. There was some streak that I don't have the numbers handy, Len, but thank you for exposing me.
I understood.
Thank you. Here it is, Rutgers by 6. Cummings lost it on the way up. Found Seabrooks to bail him out. Flores misfired. Well, outside of Stevens' range with good hands. Forced the turnover. Greer, nice job to lose Hodgson, and Ricardo gets his first points of the night. Both Greer brothers are sophomores. They are not twins. The same class academically in school. Jones hit the deck hard and might be shaken up. Oh, he's just bumming. Can't get one to go. Well, the Panthers got a few to go since the last time out. Ricardo Greer's hard work inside helps make it a 4-point game at the AT&T Big East Championship.
Nobody's watching.
You know Fowler. Well, he's trying to keep Dick and Digger in line. And Fowler's the one who always keeps the ship in the water on championship week. We hear from the boys at halftime. Find out everyone's bubble deal, the key games of the night. Out of the timeout, set 3 for Billett is off the mark. And Seabrooks gets the rebound for Pittsburgh.
And that's a plus for Pittsburgh. Seabrooks given extended minutes right now. We talked about his asthmatic condition, but he looks like he just wants to play.
Has battled through knee injuries as well. Montego Cummings and Kelly Taylor iron in the backcourt. Hawkins, Flores, and Seabrooks up front. 8 to shoot, as you see. Tigo with a 3. Hodgson the rebound for Rutgers. Brown playing with 2 personal fouls. Both Greer brothers have 2 personals. But Johnson to take all the way, and a foul on the Panthers. Seabrooks. That's not been a good start for the 13 Big East performer, Cummings. 1 of 5 from the field.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that Vonteego Cummings might be tiptoeing a little bit. He's had the problem with his back. He still has a few nicks. Really hasn't taken the ball to the basket with any authority, and it's pretty much settled for the perimeter jump shot. So this is one of those situations that maybe he is hurting, wants to be out there, but just can't do what he normally does, and that's take people off the dribble as well as pull up for quick jumpers.
A month ago in the game at Georgetown, Ralph Willen was telling us how bad the pain was for Vonteego with that back injury that he has. Saying it was so bad that Cummings was in tears from the pain. Really painful injury, and he wanted to keep going. Sat out a stretch where the Panthers lost their next 3 games after that. Hawkins kept it alive on the glass. Salvey came away with the rebound. No numbers for Billett. Billett, the senior, Christian Brothers Academy, Middletown, New Jersey. His brother is heading to Rutgers. He comes next year. There'll be 8 years of Billett in the backcourt for the Scarlet Knights. Hodgson kept it alive. Great work by the senior, Rob Hodgson.
Actually, you got to give some credit to Billy Collins in there as well.
Billett a 3. First good clean look at one. Look at Hodgson. Second time he's kept this possession alive.
This is an opportunity to see the desire at work for Rutgers.
Billett halfway down on that odd-looking release of his 3, but he shoots it really well. 43% three-point shooter. Taylor's long 3 never got up high enough. Another knockdown. Ricardo Greer rounds home a 2.
And that's got to be definitely deflating for Rutgers. You work so hard on the other end, offensive rebounding, get 3 good looks at the basket, can't convert. And then Pittsburgh on the other end gets an offensive rebound and puts the basket in.
Good point, man. Good defense out high by Hawkins. Billett lost Cummings. Hodgson, a 3-point shooter. Oh, the shots just are not going down for Rutgers, and that's what's happened in this 4-game slide.
And it begins to take a toll on the Rutgers players. They begin to doubt themselves ever so slightly, and when you come to a point when you need a big play, you can't have any doubts.
Do players know they're slumping?
Oh, absolutely. Players understand, and it's even if you're close, you're wondering, what do I have to do to get a bucket? And as I said, you get in crunch time and you got to make the big play. You start thinking about those things.
Cummings knocked Billett to the ground, and the whistle didn't come. Hodgson hit it 2 to re-extend the lead to 6. Hodgson has 5 for Rutgers.
Jeff Billett, definitely a tough player. Mentally and physically kind of got up and shook it off, but you can tell that he was in a bit of pain.
He was checking for blood earlier. Hodgson knows all about being bloodied, the other senior. Went through 3 jerseys in a big Monday win for Rutgers over Syracuse in Piscataway. The find of Collins. Billy Collins, the freshman, 6'7", Bishop Brady High School in Concord, New Hampshire. Mr. New Hampshire hoops last year. Panthers down 8, 6 of 27 from the field. Greer's the only man who's hit more than 1 field goal. He's 2 of 6 shooting. Kelly Taylor's 1 of 4. Earl Giant's got to be a hand shot.
Well, definitely in the isolation, Earl Johnson, afraid that Kelly Taylor's going to turn the corner on him. Just wanted to make sure that he could feel him as he goes by. But I'll tell you, Pittsburgh is bogged down primarily because they need Jeremy Holmes to be very effective at the point. He wasn't. He was on the bench. Vonteego Cummings had to play the point, and that takes him out of the offense. So he's relegated to standing up at the top, trying to run an offense that could use his offensive skills at different points on the floor.
That's what we can do to clean up those numbers. They're ugly. Last game was ugly in a defensive kind of way. Good steals, good full court defense, bodies on the floor, physical and aggressive. This has just been poor shooting.
I thought you were going to say this was ugly in an offensive sort of way. I actually like defensive games and poor shooting. They have to go hand in hand, though. Good defense means poor shooting.
Len Elmore was the half step ahead of the rest of the world once again. I like bad shooting.
You got to explain it, but you got to set the tone.
And a lot of times, and a lot of teams in this conference have used this as a success blueprint. The good defense leads to the majority of their offense.
Well, certainly those who have excellent transition. And that's where you make up for the bad shooting out of the sets. You convert on the transition. Turnover and the like.
Alvinus Chinese comes back to the line. He may be playing his final Big East games. It's definitely Ralph Willard's Big East swan song at the end of this tournament, whether it's tonight or tomorrow or the night after. A depleted Pittsburgh team with just 7 players dressed. Down 8, despite missing 21 of their 27 shots here tonight. Hawkins finds the cutter, and that's the man you were talking about, Jeremy Holmes, the junior out of Ohio.
And Holmes' effectiveness will certainly support Cummings' effectiveness if Cummings can get back in a mode where he can go and play in different parts of the floor, and on the defensive end be able to guard some people without having to worry about handling the ball on the other end.
Billard's shot is off. It's a foul on Dante Jones. A hold on the Rutgers freshman. It's only the 9th team foul on the Scarlet Knights and a couple of personal fouls.
You know, let's go back to that ugly ball situation, because there are nuances of this game defensively, and hopefully we're picking some of them out that really support, you know, from a field goal percentage shooting to poor field goal shooting. Simply because, again, you're getting hands in faces. You can use barometers, deflections. Guys are rushed. The shot clock is going down. You know, that's good basketball from the coach's seat. There's no question about it.
Would you say defense is the main reason field goal percentage is down nationally? Or is it hand in hand with kids who just want to be highlights and dunk and lay up and don't have better outside shooting fundamentals?
Not to cop out, but it's a combination of both.
That's why I asked you if it was a combination. I was copping out for you.
Okay. But it is.
One more for Ricardo. Spent a year at Cheshire Academy, a prep school, after his days at George Washington High School. And his Panthers may be just 7 of 28 from the field, but they are within 4 of Rutgers at this official timeout. AT&T Big East Championships, our 5th first-round game. In our 4th first-rounder, Ruben Bumche had a career night, 18 points on 8 of 13 shooting. A block shot inside to go there as well. But Len, he's the reason inside why Georgetown advanced to play Miami in tomorrow's 3rd quarterfinal.
Well, certainly on the offensive end, he was operating on all cylinders, presenting a target with his long arms. Really in the second half looked at the hoop and was totally under control. But that's an example, the defensive side. When you start lowering the Bumche on some folks, that'll make you look ugly. But it's great defense.
We've had seeds 9 and 10 advance tonight. Last year on this first round 5 game, afternoon and evening, as there's a foul on Pitt, we had seeds 13, 12, and 11 advance. That was the 3rd personal on Hawkins.
Correct. And obviously Pittsburgh can ill afford to lose Isaac Hawkins. An excellent rebounder, 2nd in the Big East, 1st in offensive rebounding. He provides them an awful lot of options on the defensive end, as well as a mistake eraser on the offensive end.
And if you're just joining us, just 2 subs for Pittsburgh on that bench. One of them, Chris Seabrooks, because of an asthma problem, can't play more than a couple of minutes at a stretch. Kelly Taylor comes in to get Hawkins. And look at that. You have 10 ties on that Pittsburgh sideline. 2 subs and Ralph Willard. Hard to believe, but it's the season it's been for Pittsburgh. Injuries, suspensions, all part of the equation with Ralph Willard leaving this program. Announcing his resignation February 1st. No No successor named yet. Ben Howland, the coach at Northern Arizona, has been widely speculated. And as Lenny and Dan Schulman told you last week during the Pittsburgh Seton Hall game, this is Ben's job in all likelihood. 90 seconds till halftime. It's a 4-point game. Collins finds Tenise inside, and Alvidas was fouled. There's the deuce lineup for you tomorrow. Seton Hall, UConn, our first Big East quarterfinal. Then Penn State, Northwestern. Northwestern's lost its last 6. Evan Eschmeyer tries to keep his Big Ten career going. Lenny and I join you for Georgetown, Miami, and then the winner of St. Joe's LaSalle going on right now. On the deuce, we'll take on Rhodey in an 8-10 quarter from Philadelphia. That was a 3-second violation. That's why it's pit ball.
I was going to mention that, and also mention, you remember the smile on Leonard Hamilton's face when he saw the type of effort expended by Georgetown? He wants to see a team that's tired out there, because facing a tenacious Georgetown defense is no picnic.
Pittsburgh turned it over. It'll be Rutgers ball, and Jeff Greer comes back in. He's 25 in white. His brother Ricardo is 25 in yellow.
Well, Pittsburgh's sticking with, I guess they have no choice, the 4-guard offense. A little spread the floor. Stephen Flores, not really a great defensive player, has to man the middle right now.
He is 6'8". Tenise is close to 7 foot. Flores, good soccer goalie at least, kicks it, resets it. Mr. Foul. Phelps and Vitale have the Big East surprise from tonight as part of the 7-Up halftime report. Conference USA and A10 recap as well, and the bubbles. And from past personal experience, trust me, Fowler's keeping them all both at 64. Keeping a very close eye to make sure that they don't have a 70-team field set up. Hey, Pitt can get it to 1 with a 3. Flores inside. Jeremy Holmes holds it. Here's a guy who's got to make something happen. Vontigo Cummings tries to force one up, but Tenise helps defensively. Shot clock is off. And 20 that Kevin Bannon can't take into the second half. He'll dispose of here. Cummings struggling.
Well, it's been tough for him. The defense has pointed to him. He's been relegated to playing kind of a perimeter game. The first time in a long while he put it on the floor to go to the basket, draws contact, but doesn't get a call. And you watch here, he goes in a little gingerly. A nice job by Tenise, though, in cutting off the lane to the basket, forcing Cummins to change direction. The contact was there, but no call.
He had a hand injury, too, in the preseason. Fractured his hand as a freshman. The back injury, missed 4 games total this year, having a very poor shooting night. He's a 42% shooter on the year, averaged about 16.5 a game. Vontigo Cummings. With the shot clock off, Billett checking with the sideline. They see the zone defense from Pittsburgh. How do you want to attack it in the final 10? Triple penetration by Billett. Good decision there.
Especially when there was indecision as to what the defense was, because it looked like a matchup, more man-to-man than zone.
Cummings did not get the shot off before the end of the first half. Cummings, 1 of 6. The Panthers as a team, 8 of 31 from the field. Rutgers leads by 6 at the break. We send you to the studio and Chris Fowler.
Well, Mike, thank you. Both stars held in check by the opposing defenses. That was Billett's 3rd field goal attempt of the first half. This is a scoring fest compared to the first half of the MAC game. If you're like Len Elmore, he said he loves bad shooting. We got 15 minutes of pure heaven coming up, because there's been some good defense and some low-scoring games. We'll have a probing, controversial visit with Dick and Deere coming up at halftime, sponsored by 7-Up when you come back. I know it's beyond your bedtime, Dick, but suck it up.
I left 5 in the morning this morning in Sarasota to get here, to be here all day. You work 1 shift, we got to work 2 shifts.
Yeah. This is the first Big East tournament without John Thompson. He's got a media pass, something odd about that. But under Craig Esherick, his midseason replacement, Hoyas have come around 5-3 in the month 66. 5th consecutive year they take on the Hurricanes in the Big East tournament. They've won the last 4.
Well, Georgetown did a great job. 33 offensive rebounds and 32 points in the paint. That was the difference in why they pulled this one out against Providence.
Well, Boom Jay did a phenomenal job on the inside. He really was big time and really dominated the glass.
On the other side of the bracket, Villanova and West Virginia. John.
Georgetown and certainly Rutgers coming off that 4-game losing streak, really in jeopardy unless they go on and win at least 3 games in this tournament.
Unlike last year's upsets in the Big East tournament, Georgetown the only lower seed to win so far, and that was on an upset, them beating Providence. In the Atlantic 10.